Well, welcome back. I remember battling my addictions many times and telling myself that I just needed to try harder. I just needed to be stronger. And I'm sure you have too. But over the last 15 years of working with clients every day to help them quit their addiction, I've discovered that this advice of battling your addiction and trying harder is exactly the opposite of really what you should be doing. By the end of this video, you'll understand why battling your addiction keeps you trapped in your addiction. You'll understand the root cause of your addiction and the path that can set you free. So in order to understand all of this, I need to explain three main points. The first is what's actually happening inside of your brain when you're battling your addiction. What is this battling? How does that manifest inside the brain? And once you understand that, you understand why that doesn't work from a neurological point of view. The second thing we need to do is overview the strategy to get your brain to let go of the addiction without struggle. And then the third thing we need to do is we need to understand the path to implementing this strategy of ending your addiction without struggle. So let's first talk about what's going on inside your brain when you battle, when you fight your addiction. So let's understand the fight, like what is fighting inside your brain? Well, there's two main areas in your brain, and I'm sure you've heard of the conscious and the subconscious. So when you even think about it right now, you'll realize that when you're battling your addiction, on the one side, you've got this urge, this craving, this anxiety, this urgency to have your addiction. And that's your subconscious generating that urge, that craving. And that kind of comes out of nowhere, doesn't it? That's because it's coming from the subconscious mind. It's coming from the old part of the brain, the fight or flight system, which is the system where your brain in an emergency will react with either fighting the danger to get rid of the danger, running away, that's the flight, running away from the danger, or freezing. So that's to try and prevent you from having pain. Now, your subconscious reacts that way when it perceives danger of pain. Now, when it comes to your addiction, your subconscious perceives certain triggers of signaling future danger. So, in other words, if you don't have your addiction now, if you don't have a drink now or a smoke now, or whatever it is that you take or do, if you don't do that now, you're going to remain in a state of suffering. So that's trying to prevent that suffering from happening. Now, on the other side, you've got the reward system. And this is where your brain anticipates pleasure. It anticipates it. It records where pleasure is by releasing some dopamine, which goes into the pleasure center of the brain, gives you this increased, heightened motivation and kind of excitement to have your addiction. And that's all about getting pleasure. So both of these subconscious systems work together to avoid the pain of not having your addiction or remaining in the current state. And on the other side, getting pleasure. So this is the subconscious side driving you to go for your addiction. And this subconscious reaction is designed to take over from the conscious mind. Think about it in an emergency. If a bear's chasing you back in the day, you didn't stop to think about whether it was a male or female bear. That complex analysis of the frontal cortex was dialed down, and you only had two simple choices, either fight or run or hide. Hiding's part of flight, getting away. So it simplifies the choice in an emergency. It takes over from the conscious frontal cortex. And it's the same with the pleasure center as well. So it's designed to take over. And this is why on the one side we have the urge for the addiction. On the other side, we've got the conscious mind. Now the conscious mind also wants you to not have pain and also enjoy your life and have comfort and pleasure. But it understands cause and effect. It understands past, present, and future. It understands that if you keep doing your addiction in the future, it's going to cause more suffering. So it can project forward and envision more suffering. So it wants the same thing as the subconscious. The conscious mind and the subconscious, they both want the same thing, but they're going about it in two different ways. The subconscious is trying to stop you from having suffering now and get you some pleasure right now. The conscious mind is looking at the bigger picture, wants you to ultimately survive in the future and have no pain and suffering then and pleasure then. So you've got the conscious mind wanting to stop the addiction, and the subconscious is basically promoting the addiction. And this is the battlefield. So if your conscious mind tries to fight the subconscious, right, then that's the battling. It's the conscious mind stopping the action of taking your addiction. It's delaying action. It's blocking the action from the subconscious. And that is the constant battle, because the subconscious keeps pushing and the conscious mind keeps blocking. That's the battle. That's what's happening inside your brain. Now, the reason why that doesn't work is simply because the subconscious is designed to take over from the conscious mind. It's designed to beat the conscious mind. So now we all know that some people do quit with willpower. This is effectively what we're talking about, willpower. But you'll also notice that they are the people that say, I quit years ago, but I could have another one today, right now. Every day I think about it. It's because the subconscious is still pushing the addiction. The problem hasn't really been solved at its root. The blocking has just continued. And so that's suffering. That's real suffering, isn't it? It's not a cure. It's not a cure. It's a Band-Aid. So we don't want you to swap one kind of suffering for another. The suffering of battling. Okay? We want you to genuinely end your addiction. Now, this means that fighting your addiction is not an option. You can't fight the addiction. What we have to do is we've got to end the addiction gently, without struggle. So this brings me to the second point. So how do we get your subconscious to let go of the addiction? Because it's the subconscious that's driving it, isn't it? How do we get the subconscious to let go of the addiction? So let me tell you a kind of a story of let's say you found a stray dog, and this dog maybe has been injured, maybe it's been mistreated, but you decide to look after it, and you bring it, you give it some food, you give it some water. Now, you can see it's really wary, it's on edge, it's stressed, it's anxious. So you talk gently, you move slowly, you don't try and crowd it, you give it space. And, then one day you find that the dog has taken something of yours that's really important. Let's say it's taken your child's toy. your favourite teddy. Maybe it's your favourite teddy. Actually, one of my best friends has a. he's nearly 60. He still has a teddy. I won't mention his name. But let's say the dog's taken my friend's teddy, and we know that if we go and try and grab the teddy from the dog, it's going to probably bite me, right? Because it's in fight or flight. That dog's in fight or flight. So how are we going to get the teddy back from the dog without fighting, without battling? Well, the easiest way, anyone that has a dog will know, the easiest way to get something from a dog is to give the dog something that it wants more than the teddy. Okay? So let's give the dog a bone, and the dog will drop the teddy. We've got that back. And there was no fight. So if, your subconscious is like the dog, it's kind of operating on primitive fight or flight instinct and seeking pleasure. If we can just give the subconscious what it wants, then it will drop the addiction. And I see this happen every day. I have messages from clients in my community where they're just saying, wow, I can't believe it. Today, I sat down, I was going to binge on Netflix like I normally do with a wine, and I just realised I didn't actually need to have that. I can't explain it. I didn't really do anything. It just kind of let go. Now, we need to understand that this just doesn't happen magically overnight, right? We need to, first of all, we need to explain what is it that we can give the subconscious that will cause the subconscious to let go of the addiction. Well, let's go back to what the subconscious is really on about. It's on about keeping you safe and getting you pleasure. All right, that's the main thing. It doesn't actually care about the addiction. The addiction is a means to an end. You could almost say that it thinks that promoting the addiction is helping you. Now, we need to go back to when you get triggered into your addiction. Now, I know that a lot of it becomes routine on a daily basis. It's just like, it just happens very routine and there's no resistance. But it's when but you'll also, so I'll put that aside for a minute because it's kind of not relevant and will make the video too long. I'll explain it another time. But basically, there are times when you know that you're very triggered to have your addiction. This could be when you get some bad news, when you're upset, a strong emotional event. Could be when you're bored, when you're agitated, when you're anxious, when you're worried. It could be when you feel under threat or when you've just been threatened, when there's trauma. So now I'm not talking about the autopilot daily routine, okay? I'm just talking because when you go to quit, yes, you have the cravings from the daily routine, but they're not the times that really push you into, cause you to relapse. What causes you to relapse is these stronger emotional triggers. So basically, it's during these times that we need to understand how we can get the subconscious to let go. So the reason why the subconscious is promoting the addiction at this time is because it's monitoring your state of being. Your state of being is having some suffering. It's anxious, it's stressed, it's bored, it's agitated. You might be lonely, might be sad, might feel a lack of meaning and purpose. So this is a subtle state of suffering, and your subconscious is monitoring that state of being. Okay, state of being. So if we can use our conscious mind to direct our activities to develop the skill of uncovering or experiencing consistently a state of being that is at peace and that is content, genuinely. And this can be a reliable and consistently accessed state. Then the subconscious has no need for the addiction. Let's just go over that again. Peace. Peace is a state where there's no danger, is there? There's absolutely no danger. That's why there's peace. There's no pain and suffering. And contentment is meaning that you don't want or need anything more than what's happening right now, because you're content. That's what contentment is. It's a state of already okayness. Now, most of us don't experience this state. Very rarely. We spend most of our life, most of our day, most of our year working towards trying to set up a circumstance where we can have this, whether it be the weekend, whether it be just binging in front of the TV, or whether it be on a holiday. Now, some of us are more proactive. Some of us actually have some kind of, activity that actually routinely gives us this peace and contentment. It could be some form of, like, let's say, peaceful activity, like, let's say mindfulness activity like Tai Chi or yoga, or could be some form of exercise, could be going for a walk, could be just sitting in the park, could be having a bath. But essentially, these are trying to set up a circumstance where we can access a state of being that has peace and contentment. Now, if we can do that consistently, then the subconscious will let go of the addiction at that time. All right. Now, let's go to our third point, where we're going to talk about a pathway to implement that strategy. So the strategy is to give the subconscious what it wants. And what it wants is it wants to not have any pain and suffering, and it wants to have some kind of pleasure. Now, deep contentment is a deep, very deep pleasure. If you really think about it, it's what we really want, isn't it? I mean, all the objects, all the things that we do, all the things that we buy, all the things that we have, including relationships, all the experiences, it's all about contentment, isn't it? Interestingly enough, all of those things I just said are where we're trying to generate this state from an external situation. But the state itself is not an external phenomenon. It's an internal phenomenon. It's a feeling. It's a mind and body state. It's not just a feeling. It's also a peace in your mind. Now, knowing that it's an internal state, and also knowing that it's not reliable that we can set up a peaceful trigger situation to trigger this internal state all the time, because randomly, different events can occur at any time to disrupt this external conducive environment for peace and contentment. It's much, much more reliable if we have an internal skill that we can generate and experience deep peace and contentment. Now, I know this might sound like really woo-woo and something that you might have to go and sit on a mountain for, by yourself for years, but it's not the case. I mean, yes, people can do that, but not the way I do it, not the way I understand it. I've discovered a way that's quite quick, really, and that anyone can really do. And it's to do with learning how to open up your awareness. Obviously, I don't have time in this video to explain this, because it takes quite some time to certain weeks, really. And it's a process of transformation because, um, in fact, I should do a video on this because, it can bring up unresolved emotional states as well. So you need to learn how to handle that. So, but in any case, we're just overviewing the strategy at the moment. And it's basically where we learn the skill to uncover this deep peace and contentment that already exists within us by opening up our awareness. Now, your subconscious is taking care of everything that we're not consciously aware of, but we can open our awareness to become more aware of what has previously been subconscious. A simple example would be just feeling the seat that you're sitting on. That was just a moment ago subconscious. Now, because I've directed your attention there, you've opened your awareness to that. But this can happen in so many ways. It's a very minor example. So many ways your awareness can open. And as it opens, a state of your mind goes into automatically more of a still state. In order to be open, it has to become more still, and that is a skill. And with that stillness, you'll realize that there's already peace with the stillness. So right now, just open your awareness to what you can hear, what you can see beyond the screen, the room, without focusing on any one thing. Open your awareness to everything at once. What you can see, your whole peripheral vision, what you can hear, what you can feel. And notice already, just by doing that, you've already started to sense some stillness. And there's already some peace with that. Now, that was just like 15 seconds. If you were to learn that skill, which goes a lot deeper than that, and practice that every day, what would end up happening is your baseline state of being changes. And along with that, so many things in your life naturally will change. And you develop a new way of being. You transform. And that transformation is what is required for your subconscious to let go. It's only using the addiction because you don't have this baseline state, because you're in a state of lack, of agitation, of dissatisfaction, of discontent. And we keep chasing everything in the wrong direction. We're chasing it on the outside when it's already available on the inside. And even in this short video, I think we've demonstrated that. So let's just summarize what we've come to. We've talked about how the brain generates this urge. The subconscious generates the urge for the addiction, and the conscious mind battles that to stop it because they both want the same thing. But we know that just perpetuates the addiction. You see, even if you were to succeed with willpower, it doesn't change the fact that you're still generating cravings, which is not normal. You weren't born with cravings. And we've also now talked about how we would get the addiction to end gently, and that is by giving the subconscious what it wants, which is a state of being of deep peace and contentment. And now we've also started to talk about that this is a skill, this is a pathway, and it involves deep transformation. So this is why some ways you're kind of fortunate, because you're forced into a path of transformation, which will actually end up being everything that you've ever wanted in life, pretty much in terms of the root desire, which is to be at peace and deeply content. So in the next video, I'm going to do is a video on waiting until you think you're ready to quit. Because a lot of people are putting off quitting or putting off attempting to quit because they don't think they're ready. So I thought I'd tackle that next time. All right, take care, and I look forward to hearing any thoughts you have, and if you want to send me a message. And otherwise, see you in the next video. Bye for now.